The interrogation room at the precinct looked like any in a U.S. station. Cold fluorescent light, a metal table with chipped edges, chairs that were at least 30 years old. Detective Morrison sat opposite me, a folder, recorder, and report in front of her. We were going over everything for the third time in 4 days. "So, you left your workplace on Tuesday at 6:30, she said, checking her papers. Shift supervisor confirmed. Camera at the gate recorded you. 4:32 p.m. Correct. I nodded. Left immediately. As usual, deviate from your route. No, same as always. The exact route. She flipped through several pages. Papers rustled dryly. We verified your presence at the warehouse. Colleague testimony, video footage, time cards, all checks out. I maintained calm, the same mask I'd worn since this began. Hope that clears up all questions. Essentially, yes. We are no longer considering you a person of interest in the assault of Dmitry Danilov. I didn't realize how tightly I'd clenched my jaw until I felt it release, like a backpack of bricks lifted off. Glad to hear it. Any progress on the actual attacker? Morrison closed the folder and turned off the recorder. Between us, John, crimes like this are usually either random violence or personal scores. And when the victim shows up at a married woman's house and then gets beaten in the yard, you understand. A pause. You think it was because of Clara. I think your wife wasn't entirely forthcoming about their relationship, but that's no longer your problem, right? Her voice held not just professionalism, but the understanding of a woman who also knew what happened behind closed doors. Rumors spread fast in our neighborhood, and the name Patricia Christensen usually needed no further explanation, right? Not mine, not anymore. When I left the building, it felt like I'd emerged not just from a precinct, but from a dark, suffocating tunnel. Sunlight hit my face, warm, soft August light. I had no errands, no need to rush anywhere. The investigation was closed. Clara's problems were no longer my headache. I got in the car, turned the key, but my hands froze for a second. My mind flashed back to that evening, not to the official procedural version I'd told the police, but to the real one. Yes, I did leave work at 6:30, all honest, but home. I didn't go straight home. I'd developed a habit of arriving in the neighborhood a bit early, driving past the house, especially if that white Audi appeared on the guest spot during lunch. I'd seen it 3 times in the last month, always in the same spot. That Tuesday at 3:06 p.m., I saw it again, parked like it belonged. His car, again, at our place. I parked 4 blocks away, circled the neighborhood through backyards, entered through the basement door, silently, a skill, as if I'd been preparing for it my whole life. Upstairs, sounds, voices, her laugh, the one I hadn't heard in maybe 5 years. A man's voice, confident, resonant, and in it, not a question, but familiarity. He spoke to her like she was a regular. I sat downstairs for over an hour, listening to them move through the house, drink, laugh, like it was their evening, their comfort. At exactly 7:45, he came out, relaxed, phone in hand, looking sharp, suit straight off the rack. A man who didn't know consequence. I followed. Baseball bat from the garage in hand, an old ski mask, gear from trips to Aspen, in the dark, without words. First blow to the ribs, second to the shoulder. The rest, fast, precise, no hysterics. He slumped against the hood, wheezing. I walked away, came back a minute later with a jerrycan. The lawnmower had been empty for ages, but a little fuel remained in the tank. Match from the first aid kit in the trunk. The interior ignited faster than I expected, then calmly drove out a couple of blocks, drove around for 7 minutes, and at 6:47 sharp, as always, returned home. Confusion on my face, voice confident, gestures, not a single extra one, and the police noticed nothing. Now, sitting in the car, I smiled to myself. His car was towed. Only a black stain on the asphalt remained. Clara's car was gone too, meaning she was staying with her sister or parents, or whomever she was telling her version to now. The house was calm, clean. I went to the kitchen, poured myself 2 fingers of bourbon, and settled into the leather armchair, the one Clara had always hated, saying it didn't fit the decor. Now the decor was only mine. Outside the window, through the blinds, I saw Mrs. Patterson. She was fussing in her flower bed, definitely looking my way, waiting for fresh gossip. Let her look. The criminal case was closed. The marriage ended on my terms, and Danilov would remember that night for a long time, every time he tried to stand without crutches. I took a sip. The bourbon was bitter, smoky, and tasted like victory. My phone vibrated. A message from Clara. Please call. We need to discuss the house. I deleted it without reading. No more discussions. Her part was over. The sun dipped behind the rooftops. The sky turned orange ruby, and I sat in my kitchen, in my house, in my life, truly alone and truly free for the first time in years. The house was different, not physically, no. Same walls, same furniture, same smell of coffee in the morning. But without her, it breathed differently, spacious, quieter, cleaner. I poured myself a second glass, stepped onto the deck, sat on the step, looked at the garden. The yard where Clara once hosted wine dinners with throws was now simply mine, without her fairy lights, without little fountains, without arguments about design, unity, and most importantly, without lies. The next morning I woke without an alarm, stretched, sat up, opened the window. A light breeze outside, trees rustling, the world alive. No footsteps in the hall, no heavy sighs, no her saying, "John, we need to talk." I leisurely put on a robe, went to the kitchen, brewed myself coffee alone, no second cup, and didn't have to listen to complaints about the milk fat percentage, or the bakery rolls being too yeasty. The TV showed news, a short segment, a man assaulted in a residential area, discharged from the hospital. Victim Dmitry Danilov, recovering well, acting confident, preparing for rehab. Investigation into the assault closed, no suspects. Possible theories include robbery or mistaken identity attack. I took a sip of coffee, smiled slightly into the mug. Mistaken identity, sure. By lunchtime, Michael, my friend from work, picked me up. We went to the Shoreline Club, the one I kept paying dues for, despite her grumbling about too expensive and useless. On the 10th hole, as I lined up my shot, Michael said, "You know, you seem ... lighter, somehow. Calmer, looks good on you. 12 years of dead weight." "No joke," I replied, "no regrets." I glanced at him, then looked back at the fairway, swung, hit. The ball flew straight down the line, like it was threaded, landed precisely where I aimed. Not a drop about the divorce. Wish I'd done it sooner. A couple we knew, part of the married crowd. One shook my hand, the other expressed sympathy, but neither condemned. Everyone knew. Rumors spread fast, and with Patricia Christensen's name appearing, it became clear. Serious business. "Heard she's staying with her parents for now," Michael said, picking at his salad. She has 60 days under the contract to find a place. Yep, counting the days, I bet. Harsh, not harsh. Consequences, I answered. He nodded, didn't argue. His own divorce 5 years ago was far messier. He kept half the assets and paid alimony. He didn't have a Patricia. I did. That evening I returned to the house where no one turned on lights for me, put my mug in the dishwasher wrong, complained I forgot to turn off the range hood again, and woke without groans beside me, without the expectation of endless conversations. Real freedom, adult freedom, felt even in the silence. Later, closer to night, I heard from an acquaintance that Clara wasn't just at her parents'. Danilov, as soon as he got out of the hospital, broke it off. Apparently, lying in a hospital bed gave him a different perspective on life, and especially on women who get you nearly killed. Seems the affair didn't survive the cast, crutches, and head bandage. No pity, not a drop. People make their choices. That night, I cooked myself a good dinner. Steak, how I like it, crusty. Opened wine, the one Clara thought too expensive for a regular night. Sliced cheese, bread, a bit of mustard, ate it slowly, savoring it, alone, without expectations, reproaches, or her perpetually dissatisfied look, implying, I lived wrong. I understand everything. I've changed. Forgive me. Give me a chance. All according to script. I deleted it without listening. Went up to the bedroom. Not ours. Mine. Huge bed. Just me. Could lie across it. Sprawl in the corner. Spread out like a star. But I just lay in the center. Hands behind my head. Ceiling. Silence. Calm. Without her sobs. Through the wall. Without accusations. Without vague complaints. Just silence. And the thought that now everything was different. I lay on my back, staring at the ceiling, and for the first time in a long time felt no guilt, no anxiety, no doubt, only silence. That calm kind with the faint background of night sounds, tree creak, refrigerator hum, wind in the vent grate. I slept long, deep, dreamless, woke on my own, no alarm, no alarm. The next day I was alone in the house again. Not just alone. The owner, without arguments over furniture, without fights about curtains. Without her, it's too cold in here. Why did you buy that salami again? And all the rest that had eroded me inside for years. The morning was bright. I brewed coffee, sliced bread, fried eggs, and ate breakfast by the window. Plate, mug, fork, napkin, everything in its place. No one drank my coffee from my mug, moved the ketchup, criticized the table order. As I finished, the thought came again. It was really over, truly over, not just divorced, free. I no longer had to share a bed, time, money, patience with anyone. No calls from Clara, no messages, no manipulative voicemails. I started cleaning, went through the rooms, threw out a couple of her old magazines, bagged up some cosmetics forgotten in the bathroom. The smell of her perfume was still faintly in the air, but weak, almost gone. A trace remained, like a shadow, and I knew it would fade. Around lunch, Michael dropped by. So, how's it feel? He asked, stepping over the threshold. She est somewhere, pondering her mistakes or crafting a story for her mom about how deleted it without listening. Michael looked at me with respect. That's control. I might have snapped, especially with that situation. I shrugged, grown inside. We sat, drank tea, talked not just about the divorce, but work, fishing, old friends. He left, leaving behind a feeling of simple human connection without drama or masks. Put on an old movie, behind the guest room door, empty. The bed she'd rumpled with her sleepless nights was smooth again. The comforter lay flat. I opened the window, breathed in the night air, sat on the bed. No more talks, no tears through the wall, no warm palms, followed by the chill of betrayal. Just me, just silence, just the choice to be myself. 2 weeks had passed since the court finalized the divorce. Documents were processed, signatures placed, stamps applied. The forecast promised a clear, rain-free day, perfect for golf. I had a meet-up with Michael. We'd agreed to play, talk, breathe easy. Clara had moved out the last of her things the day before. Everything the contract entitled her to. Clothes, jewelry, her car. No furniture, no dishes, no appliances. The house felt emptier, but only physically. More space, more air. Breathing felt easier, like someone removed a blockage that had pressed on my chest for years. Like old friends, without strain, without obligations. At Shoreline, everything was as usual. Polite staff, manicured course, pleasant silence between holes. Not entirely, I answered. But almost. She hasn't called again, tried once. Deleted the voicemail. He nodded. Right, yours is clean. I said nothing, just looked at the putting line, swung the club, and the ball rolled where I aimed. Straight, true, no deviation. Looks like you didn't just get out, you survived. Not just survived, I corrected. I became myself again. After the game, we had lunch at the club restaurant. We were recognized. People approached. Some expressed sympathy, some support. Most knew what happened. Clara's reputation evaporated, along with her attempts to explain. People told me, handled it well, didn't disgrace yourself, did it right. Yeah, I confirmed, and more than half is gone. Well, harsh, but fair. It's not harsh, I said. It's just honest. Every action has consequences. That evening, I returned to the house no one shared with me anymore, where every book lay where I left it, where only my towel hung in the bathroom, where the thermostat stayed at my comfortable temperature, not her mandatory 65 degrees. I reheated food, opened wine, toasted to having gotten through it all without losing myself, and for the first time in a long time, felt no anger, only calm. Late evening brought more news from mutual acquaintances. Clara, it turned out, had tried to reconnect with Danilov, but he, upon getting out of the hospital, immediately dumped her. Word was, after weeks in a cast and on crutches, he'd cooled rapidly on affairs with married women, especially ones that led to torched cars and criminal investigations. In that moment, I was sitting on the deck. A clear, starry sky above the house, a light breeze, a warm evening. I held a glass in my hand, not a single heavy thought in my head. I felt no vengeance, no guilt, only satisfaction. Clara made her choice, Danilov made his, and I simply ensured the consequences were truly felt. Late that night, I was home again. But now all nights were mine, each special in its own way. I ate slowly, savoring it. Looked out the window at the street where not long ago a car stood engulfed in flames, where cops, medics, firefighters scurried. Now all quiet, empty. Clara, I didn't answer. She left a voicemail, 3 minutes. I hit play, but turned it off after 15 seconds. A voice, painfully familiar. The same notes, crying, pleading, forgive me, I understand, give me a chance. And of course, I don't want to be left with nothing. I deleted the message without regret. Everything between us was dead. Not on Tuesday when that car burned. Not on Wednesday when I went to the lawyer, but much earlier. I just hadn't seen it for too long. I went up to the bedroom, the one that used to be ours, now exclusively mine. Bed made, comforter on one half, only one pillow. No perfume, no sleep masks, no talks about the morning argument. I lay down, hands behind my head, ceiling, semi-darkness, just me and the evening quiet. Thought about Danilov, probably lying in his apartment, ribs bandaged, plates in his leg, wondering who it was, why, for what. Let him wonder. Thought about Clara, likely at her parents' now, torn between fear and resentment, between trying to blame everyone and rare, cold flashes of understanding. She ruined it herself, her actions, her lies, her choice. Thought about myself. What now? Someone who knows loyalty, someone who doesn't lie to your face for 6 months, but for now, just quiet and an honest life, without lies, without obligations, without compromises. The neighbors were turning off their lights. Dogs stopped barking. Everything around settled into night's quiet. The world went on its way. As always, I closed my eyes and slept deeply, dreamlessly, like a man with a clear conscience. If you liked this story, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions in the comments. To listen to the next story, click the box on the left. Thanks for watching.